Welcome to the Willie Bragg Show. Once again, I'm your host, Willie Bragg. It's been a minute. I'm back. No explanation needed. My life story, yada, yada, yada. Work, all this sort of thing. And anyway, I'm glad to be back. And I'm glad each and every one of you are here with me. So I want to go and give out my shout outs before we get to what we're going to talk about today. And of course, we have Warren here. Always great seeing you here, Warren. Around the world with D and friends. Likewise, great seeing you here as well. And Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. Great seeing you here as well. Every time I see your program, I share it. I like UFO, Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. So just wanted to go give a shout out and all of that. So anyway, we're gonna talk about Tulsi Gabbard today because I have a very I have a very unique perspective on Tulsi Gabbard because I felt burned from her in many ways. I did. So I guess basically we should start in the beginning. Let me do that. So right now, we'll go with the I guess we'll go with a basic history about Tulsi. If the little bar will stop sliding around. And okay. Why is it doing that? Okay, I'm going to share it anyway. That should be on the screen. It is on the screen. Good. You know about Tulsi Gabbard. And Tulsi Gabbard, basically, she was elected in 2012 as a down the line Democrat. I'm not going to say she was a Bernie Sanders adjacent Democrat before Bernie Sanders entered the national scene in 2016, which I would say that maybe prior to Bernie Sanders, it was, the less charismatic Dennis Kucinich was in order as far as the politics that Bernie Sanders espouses. And by the way, Dennis Kucinich is running in the 7th Congressional District in Ohio as an independent because he got screwed over by the Democratic Party, I believe, in 2012 or 2014, somewhere along the way, because he was rebellious and did not want to go doing their thing. And I suspect this is why AOC and the fraud squad do not go out of their way to defy the leadership too much, because they saw what happened to Dennis Kucinich and they got kind of scared. But anyway, getting back to Tulsi Gabbard, she wasn't a Bernie Sanders adjacent Democrat. She wasn't a Joe Lieberman, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton style Democrat either. And for those who doesn't know Joe Lieberman, I think most people would. He was sort of the Joe Manchin of his day. Piece of shit he was too. But anyway, she was sort of kind of in the middle. And being from the 2nd Congressional District in Hawaii, she was probably as good as it could get prior to the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016, when she was purportedly a down-the-line Democrat. And she had a promising career, being a veteran, being a woman of color, as the check boxes that the Democrats like to go with the identity politics. She filled all of those things. And so they were planning to groom her, and I don't mean in a way that the QAnon people and the libs of TikTok people mean. I meant, but they were grooming her basically for later on. They figure, okay, Obama won 2008. Obama got reelected in 2012. Hillary's going to run in 2016. She's going to be a shoo-in. She's going to run probably against an empty suit like Jeb Bush or something like that. It's good. It's just good. She would just walk all over him, tiptoe into the White House, get reelected easily in 2020. They feel like the Republicans will never, ever, ever get into the White House again. And there's a chance in reality right now, by this time next week, over a week from now, that the orange creature, Donald Trump, might win this election. It's not what I want, and it's not what I want with Kamala Harris either. You can be opposed to both candidates. I know some people find that very hard to believe, but you can be opposed to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I promise you, I'm in that category. Tulsi Gabbard was rising up. She made it up to the vice chair, I believe, of the Democratic National Committee. And so there she was. In 2015, Bernie Sanders announced his candidacy for the presidency. And when doing so, everybody, including myself, thought he wasn't going to get that far, But I was glad to see Bernie Sanders running. Believe me, I'm not going to go into how much of a Bernie bro I was at the time. Y'all know that. I was very happy, just to say the least. I was like, finally, somebody with my values pretty much down the line, like 95 to 99% of the issues is actually running to challenge this bitch, Hillary Clinton. And so I'm like, because I've always despised Hillary Clinton. When I found out what a centrist piece of shit she was, when it finally sank in what a centrist pieces of shit the Clintons still are. Bernie Sanders started to make a reputation in a way that he was able to reach a lot of people in a positive way. People were very receptive to the Bernie's message. And there's no reason why people shouldn't be receptive. We're not talking about Bernie Sanders, who sold out between 2016 and 2020. We're talking about the Bernie Sanders, the ideas of Bernie Sanders. Because I will still say this, as upset as I get with Bernie Sanders sometimes, and I still get upset with him, when it comes to policy, he is second to none in Washington, D.C. There's nobody that even runs close to Bernie Sanders when it comes to policy. And I'm not saying this like I'm some demented Bernie bro from 10 years ago. I'm saying this objectively. I don't mean that I am cheerleading for Bernie Sanders today. I'm not. I'm very upset with Bernie for not putting up a bigger fight than he needs to. It's great that he bashes the Republicans all day long, but you know what? That's the easiest thing to do. You're expected to do that. Whether you're Joe Manchin or whether you're AOC, you're expected to say Republicans are horrible. And they are. They are. They're the greater of the two evils. Or they are. They're the greater of the two evils. But the two evils are still evil, as far as the duopoly is concerned. And so with regard to Tulsi Gabbard, when the cheating took place, and I can't believe there are people still saying Bernie Sanders wasn't cheated in 2016 and he wasn't cheated in 2020. There are people in the Democratic Party that will still lie to you blue in the face and tell you that he wasn't cheated. Or they'll say, well, maybe he was cheated in 2016, but in 2020, he wasn't cheated. Bernie Sanders got majorly fucked over in 2016. And in 2020, he knew he was getting fucked over real quick with those phone calls Barack Obama made that convinced all those people to drop out and everything. And we're not going to rehash what happened in the primaries. And we know what happened in the primaries in 2024. The Democratic Party is so goddamn corrupt that they push Robert Kennedy into the Republican Party. I'm no fan of Robert Kennedy, but he's actually still to the left of Kamala Harris and he's working for Trump. Figure that out. But we got Dick Cheney, we got the Democratic Party sucking Dick Cheney's little dick. So we got a fucked up system here right now. And so here's the situation. What happened once she found out that there was cheating going on. And I'm looking back at Tulsi and her evolution, and she's a fucking grifter. She saw what was potentially a future, a lane that Bernie Sanders was carving out, a niche for the Democratic Party. She saw that as a future. So she went and jumped on that lane, endorsed them right away. And of course, the Hillary goons would never forgive her for that. It was the right thing for her to do. She did it for the wrong reasons, for the grift. I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard. But the Democrats establishment never forgave her for that. And for that reason, they went after her. They made damn sure when she ran 2020 that they were going to try to destroy her reputation. And so, and I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about in a moment here. Because Tulsi Gabbard ended up joining the Republican Party as of last week. I mean, although we can argue that she pretty much was a Republican about this time 2 years ago when she became an independent. Because of course, when she became an independent, she campaigned for every fucking Republican running in the country, major Republican running, like Carrie Lake, for crying out loud. How does a Tulsi Gabbard, who was pretty much almost an Abby Martin wannabe, campaigning for Carrie Lake, or or people like that? How the hell? And here's the thing. They try to smear her as a Russian asset and an Assad apologist. And she was talking the anti-imperialist themes, and she was talking about, she was kind of talking in a very, very tepid way, as much as she could get away with. She was talking about a lot of things we hear pretty much from our friends from the Gray Zone, or the Jimmy Dore Show, or Glenn Greenwald, the Gumbo Couch, and everybody else who are in that subsection of the left. And she was kind of echoing those themes, talking about Assange, talking about Snowden, and it was kind of brave of her because she was doing it, and Bernie Sanders had jack shit to say about it. Well, Hillary Clinton sitting there trying to destroy her reputation, and what the media did, trying to keep her out of the debates and all of that. And and I will say this, we went from that to where she's at this week, and it was just, it was kind of disconcerting, just seeing her with Trump. That's kind of disgusting. From there to there. But she was just like Robert Kennedy. She was chased into the Republican Party. I mean, there's no way, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So anyway, we'll go into what I said, the meat and potatoes of what I'm going to talk about with regard to Kyle Kulinski in a short moment. But let me go ahead and do this here and find that article. It's from Time Magazine. Brief history of Tulsi Gabbard's revolution from Democratic star to MAGA Republican. And it's Tulsi Gabbard, one-time Democratic candidate. I lost my place here. Sorry about that. Turned independent, announced to a Donald Trump rally in North Carolina on Tuesday that she is officially joining the Republican Party, in her robotic voice. I'm joining the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against slavery in this country. It's the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and the strength to fight for peace, Gabbard says. You know, I was a Democrat for over 20 years. Today, the Democrat Party is completely unrecognizable. She continued. When you look at the party of Kamala Harris, for example, she is anti-freedom. She is pro-censorship. She is pro-open borders. She is pro-war without pretending to care about peace. Okay, let me comment on this. Okay. Yes, the Republican Party is not the party of equality. Neither is the Democratic Party. Let's get that out of the way. You know, as far as the party being unrecognizable, Tulsi, I got news for you. I voted for Michael Dukakis in 1988. He was my first vote. The Democratic Party became unrecognizable when Bill and Hillary Clinton took over it. Because the motherfucker Reaganized the Democratic Party. If you want to talk about how unrecognizable, I'm more of an authority about how the Democratic Party is unrecognizable than you are. So I just want to make that clear. As far as being anti-freedom, you're right about Kamala Harris being anti-freedom. Donald Trump is not pro-freedom either. Donald Trump is pro-censorship. So is her, you know, as far as the open borders, you know, what have you. Here's the thing. It's not open borders that's a problem. It's American foreign policy. The thing that was your pet issue 4 years ago before you turned into Nikki Haley, you know, and you talk about being her being pro-war, but you're supporting the carnage in Gaza, even though you're still correct on Ukraine. So let me continue. Gabbard, 43, becoming a Republican should come as no shock to anyone who has followed her career, particularly in recent years as the former lawmaker from Hawaii, has a long name for herself by openly criticizing Democrats and became a staunch supporter of former President Donald Trump. Her announcement of her party switch comes after prominent Republicans such as Vice President Dick Cheney and his Karen of a daughter, former Republican Conference Chair Liz Cheney, have endorsed Harris for 2024 election. Gabbard cited Cheney's support for Harris as evidence that the Democratic Party are one of the warmongers. And it's true. Having Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney endorse Kamala Harris is not a good sign. And Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney they're both worse than Donald Trump. Doesn't mean I like Donald Trump. It means that they're worse than Donald Trump. Donald Trump is more of a pacifist than Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney. I'm not saying he's great on foreign policy, but I'm saying that he's less of a warmonger. He's too much of a warmonger for me. Theoretically, he was too much of a warmonger for Tulsi Gabbard 4 years ago. I digress. But, you know, she has a very important point about Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney. But she seems to forget that the Republican Party has more neocons than the Democratic Party. Democrats got their fair share of neocons. The flow of neocons that left the Republican Party to go into the Democratic Party, let me tell you the kind of people they are. They are the neocons who don't hate gay people and who might be cool with abortion rights. Most of them. They're found in the Lincoln Project. The rest of them, they stayed in the Republican Party because they hate the gays. And they hate the gays, and they want to go and control women's reproductive rights. A lot of them are evangelical Christians that want to. They are loving Iran and Israel, fighting each other right now. The neocons are the Republican Party. It is the party of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, even though those guys are supporting Kamala Harris. It is the party of Lindsey Graham, Republicans. And he's a fucking neocon piece of shit. It's the party of Tom Cotton. He's a neocon piece of shit. It's the party of John Bolton. It's the party of Mark Levin. It's the party of Ben Shapiro. It's the party of, Nikki Haley. It's the party, Mike Pompeo. It's the party of fucking John Hagee. Some of the worst people, Dinesh D'Souza, all these people are neocon scum from the Bush-Cheney era, and they are the Sean Hannitys of the world. I mean, they're all dyed-in-the-wool Republicans. That is the party she signed up with. So if she wants to sit there called Democrats warmongers, she's correct. But running to the Republican Party is not the answer. I know two-party system provides limitations. You don't have to go running to the Republican Party because of some shit in the Democratic Party. There's always the Green Party. Tulsi, if you wanted to grift, you could have grifted leftward. You could have made a name for yourself. You could have left the military. You could have made a name for yourself and I'm not saying leave the military because you're anti-military per se, but to keep yourself out of legal trouble. You could have become another Chris Hedges. You could have gone that route. You could be in the orbit of people like Abby Martin and other imperialists on the left, anti-imperialists. But no. You have to go running to the Republican Party. What did Dennis Prager give you a stash of cash or something? Sounds like it. When Gabbard threw her hat into the ring in 2011 for the Democratic primary in Hawaii's 2nd Congressional District for Congress, she was still relative unknown and the underdog, but beating 5 other challengers, including a former mayor of Honolulu, on a campaign largely defined by her vocal opposition to the Bush administration's era foreign policy wars and her personal reversal on same-sex marriage, because she was kind of homophobic at one time. She kind of repaired her reputation, but she's going back to that old-time homophobia. Inserting that in there, which she previously opposed and now supported. Gabbard quickly emerged as a rising star of the Democratic Party, as House Speaker Nancy Pelosi called her. Then President Barack Obama endorsed her congressional bid, and she was invited to speak at the 2012 Democratic National Convention. After she became the first Hindu, first American Samoan, and alongside Illinois Tammy Duckworth, the first female combat veteran elected to Congress in 2012, Gabbard swiftly arose in the party and was elected as vice chair of the DNC in 2013. But known for her populist economics and her pro-veteran yet anti-interventionist politics, Gabbard certainly did not toe the party line. She often clashed with the Democratic leadership for being publicly critical of Obama's foreign policy, and during the 2016 presidential election, she criticized the DNC's primary process as biased in favor of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. In 2016, she resigned from her DNC vice chair post to endorse independent Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, for which she became the prominent supporter and gave the nominating speech at the 2016 Democratic Convention. In other words, she was the AOC before AOC was even a thing. More grown up, perhaps. After Trump went on to win the 2016 general election, Gabbard said that she had a frank and positive meeting with the president-elect and was rumored to be considered for a cabinet position. In 2019, Gabbard launched a presidential campaign and announced that she wouldn't seek re-election in Congress, but particularly a vote of president in Trump's first impeachment trial. She became the most disliked candidate in the extensive Democratic field. One of the standout moments of her short-lived campaign during the primary debate, which she challenged then California Senator Kamala Harris, record as prosecutor, but it wasn't enough to propel her candidacy, which never polled higher than a single digits. She's was suspended in March 2020 after she endorsed former Vice President Joe Biden. She was not invited to speak at the 2020 Democratic Convention. The Democratic Party was kind of shitty to her. They were kind of shitty to her for a host of reasons, like the Trump, the voting present for the impeachment of Trump. Now, if I would have been a member of Congress after January 6th happened, yeah, I would have voted for impeaching Trump then. Would I have voted for impeaching Trump over this Russian thing, connection bullshit? Absolutely not. I would have voted present with her. I actually agree with her on that. But if Trump was to be impeached during his presidency, it should have been over selling arms to Saudi Arabia. I would say he needed to be impeached over the murder of General Qasem Soleimani of Iran. There are multiple areas where you could have impeached Trump. But the problem with the Democratic Party is that they went and attacked Donald Trump on some bullshit reasons. And had COVID not happened, Trump would have been reelected easily. I know that. Y'all know that. Most people know this. But the Democratic Party's in fucking denial. After leaving office in 2021, Gabbard became even more outspoken critic of the Democratic Party, often appearing on Fox News and serving as a guest host for Tucker Carlson show on multiple occasions. She expressed support for Republican candidates and policies and spoke at the 2022 Conservative Political Action Conference. Yuck. And in October 2022, she announced that she was officially leaving the Democratic Party, which she described under complete control of an elitist cabal of warmongers driven by cowardly wokeness. She went on to endorse a number of GOP candidates in 2022 midterms, including Trump's now running mate, Ohio Senator J.D. Vance. Earlier this year, Gabbard has speculated as a potential running mate pick for Trump. And I'm glad that she did not choose her, because she's such a traitor at this point that I was glad that she had her feelings hurt over this. I'm just inserting that in there. And when she was asked about it on Fox News March, she said, "I'd be honored to serve our country in that way and to be in a position to help President Trump." After Gabbard formally endorsed Trump in August, she was tapped alongside with independent candidate turned Trump supporter Robert F. Kennedy to co-lead the Trump transition team, which would set the priorities for the incoming administration if he's elected in November. When Trump took the stage after Gabbard announced her new GOP membership on Tuesday, he called it a great honor, and explains, "Wow, what a surprise." So there you have it. And there's more to Gabbard's history. There is. But that's, I think the Time magazine kind of made it more or less clear, about her, historically speaking. Well, let's go with this here. It's on Twitter. I posted this a few days ago, and I said here, "Tulsi Gabbard, I don't blame you for leaving the Democratic Party, but you're delusional if you think the Republicans are any better. It's a neocon party, pro-censorship, corporatist, and authoritarian. You're weak for allowing Hillary Clinton to push you to the right. Blocked." Look, as far as I'm concerned, I don't do the cancel culture, but I don't have to sit there and see her go and be on my Twitter feed. If I just got tired of her, and just got tired of her bullshit, because all I ever see, I used to follow her, then I stopped following her, but she still will show up on my feed. And then it was always Democrat warmonger, this and that. And it's just kind of like, we know the Democrats suck, but the way that you put it is off-putting. Here the meme says she's wearing her Make America Great Again hat. Finding out that Tulsi Gabbard is no longer a Democrat on the Tucker Carlson show is about as shocking as finding out that Kanye is an anti-Semite on the Tucker Carlson show. So there, it's a sad. Tulsi, I just got upset with Tulsi. She's a traitor as far as I'm concerned. Because who defended Tulsi? It was the left that defended Tulsi initially. It was the left. They were her allies, and she basically just took a shit on her former allies. And why should we defend her when we defend her initially and she turned our back on us? I speculate it's because she didn't have she was a grifter, and also she was getting herself familiar with the left without really knowing what the left was about. She's not the first and the last person that this happened to. I'm not saying she's stupid. She's not stupid. She's furthest thing from stupid, but she doesn't have a lot of political. She doesn't have any street smarts about her. She doesn't have any common sense, honestly. So, but I'll tell you what, as much as I'm angry with Tulsi Gabbard, this I will always be grateful for. She prevented Kamala Harris from getting the Democratic nomination. I can be thankful for that. In a weird way, I am thankful for Donald Trump and Barack Obama, because strangely enough, they prevented Hillary Clinton from becoming president. Something that I think that maybe Tulsi Gabbard and I might still have in common in the audience here. So I will share you a little story about this video clip here when I saw this in 2019 or 2018. Was it 2018? I saw this. It was in 2018. This is Tulsi Gabbard ready to own Kamala Harris on stage.
Congresswoman Gabbard, you took issue with Senator Harris confronting Vice President Biden at the last debate. You called it a, quote, false accusation that Joe Biden is a racist. What's your response?
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana. She blocked evidence. She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congresswoman. Senator Harris, your response.
As the elected Attorney General of California, I did the work of significantly reforming the criminal justice system of a state of 40 million people, which became a national model for the work that needs to be done. And I am proud of that work. And I am proud of making a decision to not just give fancy speeches or be in a legislative body and give speeches on the floor, but actually doing the work of being in the position to use the power that I had to reform a system that is badly in need of reform. That is why we created initiatives that were about reentering former offenders and getting them counseling. It is why, and because I know that criminal justice system is so broken, that I am an advocate for what we need to do to not only decriminalize, but legalize marijuana in the United States.
I want to bring Congresswoman Gabbard back in. Your response.
The bottom line is, Senator Harris, when you are in a position to make a difference and an impact in these people's lives, you did not. And worse yet, in the case of those who are on death row, innocent people. You actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them until you were forced to do so. There is no excuse for that. And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
Okay, that was from 20. That was from that was from 2019, 2018. Anyway, thing about it is, Tulsi, I'm sorry about that. She basically destroyed the campaign of Kamala Harris, and that was cool. You know, I was happy to see that happen. But you know, the Democratic Party and the establishment really went super hard after her because of it, and that's basically my point right there with regard to Tulsi Gabbard. And yeah, right there it is. I'm sorry, I lost another video clip, but I retrieved it, and I'll be playing that shortly. But we're getting to the meat and potatoes that we need to discuss. And Kyle Kulinski, the thing about Kyle Kulinski is, when he was not being Eminem, he was supportive of Tulsi Gabbard. And the majority of what he said about Tulsi Gabbard in 2018, 2019, somewhat in 2020, he was correct then. He's still correct looking back. But he is so much trying to be a shit lib that he's starting to sound like just like a TYT Sam Cedar type, David Pakman type. I mean, it's pathetic. And I but there's a little bit I agree with, but I'll share you my take in a minute. So,
all right, y'all. So it finally happened. The vile grift is now officially complete. And when I say that, what I mean is Tulsi Gabbard, with her long political evolution, has finally reached its logical conclusion. Here's what she said.
It is because of my love for our country, and specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people and the party of peace, that I'm proud to stand here with you today, President Trump, and announce that I'm joining the Republican Party.
Okay, let's just lay it out there right now. Every single one of her harshest critics, every single one of the resistance liberals who were saying red flag when I look at her from the very beginning, they were all right.
See, this is the part I have problems with the most in this commentary. That he conceded to the Hillary people saying that they were right. Kyle, what the fuck is wrong with you? There's nothing that the resistance people said that they were right. It's the resistance people that caused Tulsi Gabbard to push her into the Republican Party.
Every single one of them was right.
No, they weren't.
They were all right.
No, they weren't.
They saw it coming. People like me did not see it coming because I'm naive. I take people at face value.
What Tulsi needed were more people like you back then, not people like you now, but people like you back then to defend her. What the Clintonistas, resistance liberals, is everything that's wrong. The pink pussy hat morons are everything that's wrong with this equation. And they did more to turn Tulsi Gabbard and let's say, these pink pussy hat morons in their modern forms did the same thing to Robert Kennedy and others that's going to be mentioned here. They're not to be redeemed and rehabilitated. They're basically no different from the Lincoln Project motherfuckers. Just maybe a little more woke. No, Kyle, this is probably one of your most wrong takes ever.
If I see somebody who's making an argument that's going against the Democrats and it's nominally an argument to the left of the Democrats. In other words, saying the Democrats aren't left-wing enough. They're too conservative. They're too right-wing. I'm against that. I want them to be more left. When I see that, I go, oh, that makes perfect sense. Those are arguments that I make all the time, right? But the difference is I mean it. She didn't.
She's a grifter. True. And I'm not going to dispute that. There's a lot of grifters out there. But the point is, she was pushed into the Republican Party by people who are more conservative than her. You seem to omit that point. But I guess you want your job at MSNBC, I'm guessing.
She went from supporting Bernie Sanders to Joe Biden in 2020 to now campaigning for Trump and joining the Republican Party in 2024.
Agree. The progression was great when she was a down the line Democrat that turned into a Bernie Sanders supporter. Then when she backed Biden, then that sucked. And it sucked even more that she's on Team Trump. No disagreement there.
How does one do that? By the way, I've said it before. If you're a grown-ass person and you change all of your political beliefs, your policy beliefs, that is sketchy as fuck. That smells like a grifter to me from a mile away. Because there's one thing, it's natural to learn and evolve, and maybe on 2 or 3 issues, it's like, yeah, I was kind of wrong about that. But to say every single thing I believed, every single deeply held belief and value I had, now I'm in the exact opposite.
Okay, I am going to go and prop him up on those points, to the point he just made there. I do know people who are not running for political office, but people who were nominally progressive, that all of a sudden they gave up everything they ever believed in. Like, oh, that's what I used to believe in as a party. I don't want any party anymore. Yuck, yuck, yuck. I knew somebody like that. Somebody, and he claims I was turning into a tanky. When my politics I evolved on a couple of issues here and there. And there was a few sore spots that I evolved on that this person didn't like. And this person, canceled me recently. I'm talking about somebody I knew for almost 20 years. So, and I expect that with my vote for Jill Stein next week, I expect to have several people telling me to fuck off and or worse. But, there are people out there that will sit there and give up everything they ever believed in because some people that are nominally on the left who are made them mad. I honestly don't get that. Because the country's not far left. I'm sorry. There's not a section of the country that's far left. This person I mentioned is from California. I know Gavin Newsom, whatever, Gavin Newsom isn't far left. The Democratic Party in California is not far left. Being tolerant of LGBTQ rights and super reproductive rights and immigrant rights, it's not leftism per se. It's not leftism. I would expect that from a moderate Republican to be pro LGBTQ right. I don't think it's unreasonable for a moderate Republican to be, but then again, I would not expect it to be unreasonable for even a moderate Republican to be opposed to universal health care. But here we are in America where not only is the entire goddamn Republican Party opposed to universal health care, but you have Democrats who are not that much better, but they're called socialists. This is how warped our Overton window is. And you have Republicans who are looking at Dick Cheney that, he's a rhino now. When, 20 years ago, Rush Limbaugh was sucking his dick and they were cheerleading it. We have a crazy society that doesn't make any sense.
It's like, wow, that seems really fucking convenient and really fucking hacky. The fact of the matter is she burned every bridge on the left wing of the political spectrum. And then she said, well, what am I going to do? I just guess I'll just go this way. Sort of, the inverse of like Liz Cheney, right? where it's like, you know, she burned every bridge with the right and MAGA dropped the hammer on her and she got blown out. And it's like, well, I can either get out of politics or just go join the other side. And what you do, go join the other side, just like Tulsi Gabbard. So now look, we got to call spade a spade, right? Now everybody's suspect now when it's like, hey, you're criticizing the Democrats from the left. It's like, is this going to end in 5 years where all of a sudden you agree with every right-wing idiotic policy in the country? And then the other thing is, a lot of this is just lying, right? So, the party of peace now, the Republicans are the party of peace. Don't look at Trump increasing drone strikes 432%. Don't look at him doing over 2,000 drone strikes in his first 2 years alone. Don't look at him keeping us in Iraq and Afghanistan. Don't look at the 330% increase in civilian deaths in Afghanistan. Don't look at him bombing Syria twice. Don't look at him bombing Somalia. Don't look at him occupying a third of Syria and taking the oil. Don't look at attempting to coup Venezuela, right? Like, party of peace, which I made up and now I will pretend is true, even though it's not. And it's like, these are the same people who are like, the Democrats are now the party of Dick Cheney, bro. That's what they are, bro. And they never say anything about, well, Tom Cotton's in your coalition. Lindsey Graham's in your coalition. Mike Pompeo's in your coalition. So,
and you're right about that. Everything you just said there is true. I'm not disputing you on these things, but not to have, and I'm mad at Tulsi, and I don't blame you for being mad at Tulsi, but you have to understand where the rot came from. It came from the Hillary Clinton people, the resistance people. This is my issue with you, Kyle, in this video, that you gave the resistance a free pass. And they're every bit as scummy and what's wrong in American politics as the Republican right-wing assholes out there. They're every bit as insufferable in their own way. They Reaganized the Democratic Party when Bill and Hillary Clinton and their lieutenants and their minions Reaganized the Democratic Party through the Democratic Leadership Council in the 1990s. But they look so rebellious with their pink pussy hats in early 2017.
You have more neocons supporting the Republicans and Trump than there are supporting Kamala.
It's a wash now. But anyway.
By the way, did anti-war Tulsi ever say a single word in favor of Biden when he nearly eliminated the drone war or pulled out of Afghanistan? Not a fucking word.
And she didn't say anything about Julian Assange being freed either. And 4 or 5 years ago, Tulsi Gabbard would not shut the fuck up about Julian Assange. And now, and when Julian Assange was free, crickets. Crickets.
Not a word. Not a word. I don't believe her. I don't believe her. She's full of shit. She's a careerist hack.
Agreed.
And now every critic from the very beginning, the cringe resistance liberals who we all looked at and were like, ugh, these people are disgusting.
They are disgusting, Kyle. And I'm ashamed that you're actually rehabilitating those. I know you're not doing it wholeheartedly, but the fact that you're giving them just a faint bit of credibility is disappointing. They deserve no credibility either in this scenario.
Every one of them was right.
No, they weren't.
About Tulsi. Every single one of them.
In spite of what happened to Tulsi, no, they were not right.
And we all need to acknowledge that. We all need to realize that. We all need to digest that. And we all need to adjust moving forward, which is how kind we are with taking people at face value. Because I've certainly learned my lesson. I've been burned enough times with the Jimmy Dores and the Russell Brands and the fucking Tulsi Gabbards. I've been burned enough times.
Well, I'll agree with you about Russell Brands. Russell Brands, I totally written off when he's going around bending down his knees, praying, and all of this. I'm not knocking him down for being a Christian and all that, but it smelled like a grift. It smells like a grift. Jimmy Dore, he's got some takes that I disagree with, maybe perhaps a bit more lately. I would not put him into that category, but you're salty, Kyle. You're salty because he hurt your damn feelings 3 years ago. And yeah, I do think he was harsh on you 3 years ago when Anna Kasparian did her little meltdown on and started verbally attacking Aaron Matei and Jimmy Dore responded, and then it ended up with TYT and Jimmy Dore fighting, and they both Jimmy Dore and TYT pull you in to force you to take a side when there's like 15, 20 programs under the TYT banner, and they chose you to go and choose a side, as if there's the uncle and there's the mother and father trying to win the affection of the child. They looked at you as their little child. And then when they all three of them, Jimmy Dore and Anna and Kasparian and Schenken and Uyghur, said, fuck you, you had your feelings hurt for the next year and a half. And I mean, I'm just like, I was watching your show, you were just like belly aching every now and then. So I was like, have some fucking self-respect. Okay, there are going to be people that are not going to like you. Be more thick-skinned. Don't act like Trump and get all petty. Well, no, Trump has a mean streak, but don't start crying about it. Because it just make it just. This is why people make fun of you. They call with the blonde hair looking like Eminem, and and Crystal treating you like a little Ken doll and everything. They all make fun of you now. And you change. You really did change. Because, I mean, I used to listen to you all. I mean, in fact, the Willie Bragg show exists because Willie Bragg was listening to Kyle Kulinski. And Kyle Kulinski was the favorite at one time. Really, you were one of my favorites. But I can't really sit there and listen to you on a daily basis like I used to. Maybe once a week. Maybe twice a week, you might come up with something a little edgier than TYT or Sam Cedar or David Pakman. But you became one of them. And that's a problem. That's a problem. You're less mature now than you were 10 years ago. And you were in your 20s. In your 20s, that's to be expected, not to be ageist. But you were a serious news person 10 years ago. 3 years ago, you were still a serious person. Even after TYT and Jimmy Dore hurt your feelings, you were for a short while still a serious person. Somewhere along the way, you just got sloppy and became a Biden bro. And just did apologetics for it. Now, I agree with you and Crystal about the National Labor Relations Board all day long. It's not enough for me to go and cheerlead for Biden, because if the unions increase by 1% or less than 1%, that's not really a labor victory. But I mean, I guess a slight increase in unionization of the workforce is better than the steadily decline since the days of Ronald Reagan. I give you that. But no, I mean, I can't sit there and cheerlead for the tiny crumbs that Biden provided. He did provide more crumbs than Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. I give you that. But I don't want crumbs. I want the feast at the table. And and please don't fall into that trap of being just another MSNBC person, because you have that written all over you. I want a job at MSNBC. All of y'all do. David Pakman. I mean, Sam Cedar's still salty about getting fired, and what's his name? Cenk Uyghur would love to. As far as I'm concerned, he would love to have that job back too. But it is what it is. You reap what you sow.
Where I'm not going to come out here in white knight and cape for you when people are saying you look like you're doing a whole right-wing transition grift. I will not be there to say that's not true, because many times it ends up being true. Now,
you should wait a minute, because let me tell you, your wife Crystal was hinted as being right-wing by NATO Nomiki Kantz. Think about it. maybe a year and a half ago, something like that, when it was over the Amazon unionization drive, and she was criticizing AOC. I'm talking about Crystal Ball, and Nomiki Konst got really upset over it, and she was sort of insinuating that she didn't say it, but she was insinuating that Crystal Ball was turning right wing from the way it sounded. That's how I was interpreting it. You know, don't fall in, don't be a Nomiki Konst. That's all I'm saying. Don't be a Nomiki Konst.
Hopefully, that's not the case with all people, all these sorts of people who might criticize the Democrats from the left, or break with democratic or liberal or leftist orthodoxy from time to time. It's clearly not true, because I'm somebody who does that all the time, but I know where my values are and I know where I am, right?
I do appreciate that you didn't include Glenn Greenwald on that list. I am appreciative, because there's too many people that's on the nominal online left that's willing to throw in that Glenn Greenwald's some right-wing grifter, and he's not.
But there's plenty of people who do the full fucking Dave Rubin or whatever, and these are the most pathetic losers in the country. The most pathetic losers. And you should feel personally burned by them, because they did. They burned all of us. What they were advertising themselves as and what they ended up actually being are totally fucking different. And that is worthy of no respect at all.
News to the wise about Kyle Kulinski regarding Tulsi Gabbard. On Rising 4 years ago, when Bernie Sanders was still in the campaign, he was asked, who should Bernie Sanders' running mate be? And he replied, Tulsi Gabbard. He wanted Tulsi Gabbard to be Bernie Sanders' running mate. That's significant to let you know, because I do think that when Jimmy Dore and Nico House and were all for Tulsi Gabbard, and my impression looking back at the Combo Couch, they were sort of like for Tulsi, but sort of for Bernie, interchangeably. And, and when Jackson Hinkle was doing edgy left things before he became what Kyle Kulinski accused the others of being, and other commentators like Shoe on Head, I think, and Nico House, all of these folks, I think that the one thing that everybody had in common was that they wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard to team up. I know that Nick Cruz from RBN says something very similar as well. And that was my position too at the time. I wanted Bernie Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard to be the team in 2020. Not only did that not happen, I was in denial about Tulsi Gabbard, even when she dropped out and backed Joe Biden. And she's a little salty. Now she was a little salty because some of the Bernie people took the Hillary Clinton line. And I'm still mad at these people that were on the Bernie camp that were sympathetic to the resistance liberals, that faction. The ones who are closer to mainstream Democrats. They're basically mainstream Democrats who favor a single-payer healthcare system. So Bernie was the go-to. They're just as much at fault for pushing Tulsi to the right. Should have known better. But anyhow.
All right, guys, that's the show. That's the show. Y'all know the drill. Everybody, please click like, click subscribe, all that fun stuff. Support the show on Patreon.
Okay, so there is that. And anyway, I just had to get that out of my chest and all that. But let me go and talk to everybody here and do my usual shout outs before I exit out of here and go to work. So right now, let's see, we'll go with hold on. We'll go with Desert Mantis. And how are you doing today? Great seeing you here. I have a Tulsi t-shirt for sale, extra large. You know, I almost bought a Tulsi Gabbard t-shirt in 2020. I didn't, but I almost did. I donated $10 to her campaign, and I asked her for my $10 back, but she never replied. No, I was busy giving Bernie Sanders thousands of dollars over the years. Literally, I gave that man thousands of dollars over the years. Even before he ran for president, I was taking part of my tax refund, donating it to his reelection for the House when he was a congressman, or for the U.S. Senate when he was running for the U.S. Senate. And of course, the 2 times he ran for president. But you know what? I'll never donate another dime to Bernie Sanders again. That's for damn sure. I have a Bernie Sanders 2016 shirt. I do. But yeah, I hit the wrong one. Yeah, I have not worn that in a while. It's a large t-shirt, not extra large. I was a little skinnier in 2016, but COVID turned me fat when they closed the gym. Let's see. Anna Moose, how are you doing today? And let's see here. Great impression of Gabbard. All I have to do is sound like a robot. That's all I have to do. Let's see. Earl Laurel, how are you? Nah, the left called Tulsi a Russian agent. Depends on which section of the left. Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to call Hillary the left, but they, the TYT the left. They call her a Russian asset. To Kyle's credit, I don't think he looks at her as a Russian agent. And there were a good chunk of the real left that don't see her as a Russian agent. See, when it comes to Russia, Russia has, and I have a friend that hates Putin. And I mean, Putin is not a lovable person, obviously. But the thing about it is that he sees Putin as this authoritarian right-wing figure. Authoritarian, maybe right-wing in his own society, but he's on the right side of history when it comes to the Israeli-Palestinian issue. He's for the Palestinians, and he's more humane toward Africa and the developing world than the U.S. We can hate what he did in Ukraine all day long, but in a lot of ways, the Ukraine government is more right-wing, more authoritarian. They got Nazis in the Ukraine. They mistreat the LGBTQ in Russia. That's true. They also mistreat the LGBTQ in the Ukraine and in a lot of other Eastern European countries. It's an Eastern European thing. It's wrong, but they're all negligible. They're all equally negligible in that regard. I mean, that's same argument. That's almost the same argument as criticizing LGBTQ people for Palestine. Whoa, they're mean to the LGBTQ people. It's true, but nobody should die because they have shitty opinions on another human being. So there is that. But the thing about it is, Russia, I do think she's got sympathies for Russia, but I'm not holding it against her. That's the thing right there. I'm not holding that against her. And the thing is that there are right wingers that are sympathetic with Russia in this country. There are also right wingers who are anti-Putin and are standard neocons. Let me look at Lindsey Graham. He's no progressive. I mean, he's a warmonger on Russia. Hard line. So I'm giving you that as an example. There are people on the Mark Levin, who I despise, one day said, there's a Putin wing to the Republican Party. He talk about the Republican Putin wing. And there might be, and I do think that he might be right about that. Strangely enough, I'm not holding that against them either. A lot of them are correct to withhold funding for the Ukraine crisis, war, the proxy war, backing NATO. Maybe they're doing it for the wrong reasons, but we have too much war. And I don't know about you, but I don't like mushroom clouds. I don't like events and doing things that's going to increase its chances of mushroom clouds. I'm strange that way. So there is that. And, there are people on the left. There are pro-Russia. If you consider Jackson Hinkle left, he calls himself a communist. He's a self-described tanky. He tell you what a wonderful human being Putin is. So, the thing about Russia is this. I mean, Russia is a social democracy that is basically a very socially conservative society because it's fucking Eastern Europe. Just, it's the Russian Orthodoxy, Eastern Orthodoxy is very, very traditionalist, and that's what it comes down to. No, I'm not beating up Christians saying this. I'm just saying, it is what it is. Like Iran is socially conservative because of its Shia Islam, or societies that are overly religious are going to be very socially conservative, whatever religion it may be. But that's another subject for another time and all that. So I have to get out of here. So let me go with my quick announcements and I'm gone. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Jimmy and I will be doing our Halloween special, Braglands. I'll be live streaming on Wednesday, Friday. That's going to happen. Last week it didn't happen. Sorry about that. Just a lot of shit going on. Things are getting better at work, I think. So, and I have to get out of here very shortly. I will say this. Thank you for supporting this channel. That means a lot to me. And, I like all of y'all. I really do. I enjoy talking to y'all. I think we'd be friends in real life. Practically all of y'all. I do. And I'm not just saying that. I do mean that. So thank you for being there, listening to me rant. And I will conclude by saying, if you like what you heard, please press like and comment any ways you disagree. Feel free to share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it, because we are, in fact, the muckrakers of our time. Reject corporate media. Also, keep in mind that on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, more or less, the Willie Bragg Show live stream. So be sure to be here for that. And also remember to pardon Julian Assange, free and pardon Ed Snowden, free Palestine, free healthcare for all. Lord knows we need free healthcare for all. And of course, free speech. Let's keep that absolutist spirit to the First Amendment. Thank you. Y'all have a great evening. I will talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.